can see me, welcome to Story Time with Pastor D. And I'm very excited to read for you guys tonight. Our story time is a book by Max Lucado and his family, and it's called The Crippled Lamb, and it happens to be one of my favorites. So hopefully you guys can all see me okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read each page or two, and I'm going to open the book up so that you can see the pictures and see it clearly, and so that you can enjoy it right with us. And this is for kids. Story time is for folks of all ages. How about I just say that? All right. You guys ready to begin? Are you guys comfy? I don't know if you noticed this, but I'm in my PJs here. I'm nice, comfy, cozy. Got my pillow, got my PJs, all ready for story time. And so we're going to start. Here we go. You guys comfortable? Everybody good? All right. Here we go. Once upon a time, in a sunny valley, there lived a little lamb named Joshua. He was white with black spots, black feet, and sad eyes. Josh felt sad when he saw the other lambs with snow-white wool and no spots at all. He felt sad when he saw the other sheep with their moms and dads because he didn't have a mom and dad. But he felt saddest when he saw the other lambs running and jumping because he couldn't. Josh had been born with one leg that didn't work right. He was crippled, and he always limped when he walked. Can you see Joshua there with all the other lambs? You see him with his black spots and with those snowy white lambs? You see that in the picture? You see Josh's sad eyes? I don't know if you can make that out in the picture, but he's sad. That's why he always watched the other lambs and run around and play. Josh felt sad and alone, except when Abigail was around. Now, Abigail was Josh's best friend. She didn't look like a friend for a lamb, though. You see, she was an old cow. She was born with white blotches that looked like rain puddles on a path, and her belly was as round as a barrel, and her voice was always kind and friendly. Some of Josh's very favorite hours were spent with his friend Abigail. You see Abigail the cow there? That was Josh's best friend. They would have always such a nice time together. They loved to pretend that they were on adventures in distant lands. Josh liked to listen to Abigail tell stories about the stars. They would spend hours on the hill looking out to the valley. They were good friends. But even with a friend like Abigail, Josh would get sad. It made him sad to be the only lamb who couldn't run and jump and play in the grass. That's when Abigail would turn to him and say, "Don't be sad, little Joshua. God has a special place for those who feel left out." Can you see Josh and Abigail spending their time on that hill with those great adventures, looking up at the stars? Abigail's a good friend because she pointed him right back to God, saying that God is a special place for those who feel left out. And he does. Josh wanted to believe her, but it was hard. Some days he just felt alone, and he really felt alone the day the shepherds decided to take the lambs to the next valley where there was more grass. The sheep had been in this valley for a long time. The ground was nearly bare. All the sheep were excited when the shepherd told them they were going to go to a brand new meadow. Can you see the shepherd and the sheep there? All the sheep were excited to go except for Joshua because, of course, his bad crippled leg. As they prepared to leave, Josh hobbled over and looked and took his place on the edge of the group, but the other lambs started laughing at him. That was terrible, wasn't it? They started making fun of him. "You're too slow to go all the way to the next valley," they said to him. "Go back, slowpoke. We'll never get there if we have to wait for you," they said harshly. "Go back, Joshua." You see Joshua with those other lambs? They were being very unkind and very cruel. It's very sad. Then, when Josh looked up and saw the shepherd standing in front of him, the shepherd said, "They are right, little Joshua. You better go back. This trip is too long for you. Go and spend the night in the stable." Josh looked at the man for a long time. Then he turned slowly and began limping away. Can you see the shepherd there with little Joshua? Obviously, he was much kinder to Joshua. I could see him scratching his chin. You see that? When Josh got to the top of the hill, he looked down and saw all the other sheep headed toward the green grass. Never before had he felt so left out. Have you ever felt that way? I know I have. A big tear slipped out of his eye, and it rolled down his nose and cheek, and it fell on a rock. Just then, he heard Abigail behind him, and Abigail said what she always said when Josh felt sad. You know what that was? Don't be sad, little Joshua. God has a special place for those who feel left out. Slowly, the two friends turned and they walked back to the stable together, Abigail and Joshua, as all the other sheep left. He felt very left out, very alone and very sad. By the time they got to the little barn, the sun was setting like an big orange ball. Josh and Abigail went inside and began to eat some hay out of the feed box. They were very hungry, and the hay tasted good. For a little while, Joshua forgot that he had been left behind. "Go to sleep, little friend," Abigail said, after they finished eating. "You've had a hard day." And Joshua was tired, so he lay down at the corner on some straw and closed his eyes. He felt Abigail lie down beside him, and he was glad to have Abigail as a friend. Can you see both Abigail and Josh eating from the food trough? I bet they had a lot of food that night. Did you have a lot of food tonight? I know I'm going to have a good dinner tonight. Hot dogs and French fries with ketchup. It says, soon Josh fell asleep. At first, he slept soundly, curled up against Abigail's back. In the sleep, he dreamed. He dreamed of running and jumping, just like the other sheep. He dreamed of long walks with Abigail through the valley, something he couldn't do with his crippled leg. And he dreamed of being in a place where he never felt left out. And suddenly, strange noises woke him up. What was that, I wonder? You see that? He was sleeping soundly, and all of a sudden in this stable with all this hay, feeling left out and alone because all the sheep left, he heard some noises. What do you think it was? What do you think woke him up, even though he felt so left out? Abigail, he whispered. Wake up! I'm scared. Abigail lifted her big head and looked around. The stable was dark except for a small lamp that was hanging up on the wall. Somebody's in here, Josh whispered. They looked across the dimly lighted stable, and there, lying on some fresh hay in the feed box, was a baby. A young woman was resting on a big pile of hay beside the feed box. Joshua looked at Abigail, thinking his friend could tell him what was going on, but Abigail was just as surprised at what they saw as Joshua was. Can you see that baby lying in their feeding trough? What was going on? You ready for the next page? Here we go. Let's see what happens. I'm excited to learn. It says that Joshua looked again at the woman and the child. Then he limped across the stable. Because remember, that's why he was left out when the crowd all went one direction. He couldn't. He stopped next to the mother and looked into the baby's face. And the baby was crying, like babies do. He was cold. The woman picked up the baby and put him, little Joshua, on the hay next to her. Joshua looked around the stable for something to keep the baby warm. Usually there were blankets, but where were they? But he couldn't find any, at least not tonight. The shepherds had taken all of them on their trip across the valley. So there was nothing to keep that baby in that long warm. You see that there in the picture? Then Josh remembered his own soft, warm wool. Remember, he's a lamb, of course. Timidly, though, because, again, Joshua didn't have any friends and he was crippled, he walked over and curled up close to the baby. The mom said, "Thank you, little lamb," the baby's mother said softly. Soon the little child stopped crying and went back to sleep. About that time, a man entered the stable with some rags. "I'm sorry, Mary," he explained. "This is all I could find." "It's okay," she answered. "This little lamb has kept the new king warm." A king, thought Joshua. Joshua looked at the baby and wondered who he might be. His name is Jesus. Mary spoke as if she knew Josh's question. God's Son. He came from heaven to teach us about God. Maybe I'll show you the picture of that too. Would you like to see the picture of it? I don't know about you, but I like to see the pictures as well. That's why on Sunday mornings I do scripture pictures along with the teachings. Because it helps to see when we're also hearing things. It helps me remember it more and visualize it in my mind. You see it there? The new King Jesus. Just then, there was another noise at the door. It was shepherds, the ones that left Joshua behind. Their eyes were big and amazed, and they were excited. "We saw a bright light and heard angels," they began. Then they saw Joshua next to the baby. "Joshua, do you know who this baby is?" He does know. He does now. It was the young mother who was speaking. She looked at Joshua and smiled. "God has heard your prayers, little lamb. This little baby is the answer." Can you see that in the picture? the shepherds coming in, they had just heard the angels singing, "Glory to God in the highest and peace to his people on earth." They were probably excited and fearful and wow. And there's Joshua right there with the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, Jesus Christ. Pretty cool, huh? Joshua looked down at the baby. Somehow he knew this was a special child. This was a special moment. He also understood why he had been born with a crippled leg. Had he been like all the other sheep, he would have been in the valley. But since he was different, he was in the stable, among the very first to welcome Jesus into the world. What a special thing. Joshua thought he was all alone and not very special at all. But God had a special plan for him, just like he has a special plan for you. We've got one more page to go. Are you ready? Joshua then turned back to Abigail and took his place beside his friend. "You were right," he told her. God does have a very special place for me, Joshua said. And you know what? If I can be honest, God has a very special place for you. And he has a very special purpose for you. He has plans for your life. He has a path that he wants you to walk in. So you, as you get ready for bed, as you're taking your shower or eating your dinner or brushing your teeth or putting your jammies on, or if you're an adult charging that phone, whatever, whoever is listening to this, just thank the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords that he's made you. You're fearfully, wonderfully made. And that all the days were written in the book before one of them came into being. Thank him. Take the time to say, "Thank you, Lord, for making me special and for having a plan for me. I love you, Jesus, in your precious and holy name. Thank you, Lord. Amen." Well, I think that's it for story time for tonight. Know that we love you guys. God bless you, and have a great night, everybody, in Jesus' name.